Last week, we talked about how I've been labeled to be someone that has a big head because I do not blindly listen to people or wholesomely take on their ideas and views without thinking about it first. Today, I'm going to share a perspective that I took on for a couple of years and I have since come to change it. I don't live in regret. I made the decisions I could with the information and the wisdom that I had at the time. But now that I know better, I'm making different decisions, and I hope what I'm going to share will be helpful for someone who is in the same position as me and could make a different decision. All through primary school to secondary school, university, I was always a leader. I always held leadership positions. Now, when I got to A level, I switched school from O level to A level. And when I got to this new school, I decided that I was going to be the library and academics prefect. And I remember everyone kept saying, no, you can't run for that position. And I asked, why? Why can't I run for this position? And they said, well, that position is only held by people or students that were here for O level or students that are an old girl. And I wasn't. But the big head that I am, I refused to listen. And I ran for that position, and plot twist, I won. The people that were old girls that qualified for this position, surprisingly, did not even think to run for this position. The same thing happened when I was at university. I decided to run for school vice president. And everyone kept saying, that's a high position. You should at least have been a class coordinator to run for this position. I wasn't a class coordinator. I didn't want to be a class coordinator. And I still did not listen. I think my big head paid off because I stood for this position and won. The people that were qualified according to society or according to the school or the students, people that had been class coordinators before, they didn't even stand for this position. And yet, according to society, they had all that it took. As compared to me, who did not really have what it took to get this position, and yet I did. So just to say, having a big head does pay off sometimes. If you haven't watched my previous video, this is your cue to go watch it. Now, later on through university and after, I took on the idea that leadership positions were not really a high form of leadership and that it was more noble to lead through community impact, and that the best leaders are those that lead without position. While community impact is good, I've done this. I'm very passionate about communities as a community psychologist. I'm very passionate about creating change, helping communities do better, find services, skills and knowledge, equip them. I'm very passionate about that. But I've come to realize that political positions are actually a very important aspect of leadership, because political positions or people in political positions wield authority and power to determine our day-to-day lives. Good as our community impact is, someone with a political position will stand and say, no, thank you. We are not doing this in this community, or we are not funding this. Think about the recent USAID funding freeze. People are having amazing community projects, and someone with a political position says, no, we are freezing the funding. That's how important a political position is. You get to make decisions that cut across nations, even beyond your political jurisdiction. Think about one of the lowest positions in Uganda's leadership structure, LC1 chairperson. A very low position that not many people would aspire to attain. Yet, this person or the person that holds this position wields so much power over their community. They determine what their community does, how their community thinks, how their communities behave. If, for example, you're running a community engagement project or a behavior change project, you would have to go through this person. That's how important they are. Over the years, I've come to realize that political positions are not some low, lousy position that no one should even think about aspiring for. I've come to realize that political positions are an important aspect of leadership and governance because it puts one in the driving seat and the decision-making seat, so to say, over the lives of so many people. That's how important this position really is. And for us in Uganda, as we get into the 2026 general election, so many of us are shunning these positions. We are saying, no, I don't want to involve myself in politics. But guess what? The people in politics are running decisions for you. They are deciding what roads you drive on. They are deciding how much you're taxed and what salary you take home. They decide the hospitals we get to use or the kind of Medicare our loved ones receive. They decide so much about our lives. Basically, our entire livelihood, the economy, education is basically being run by people with political positions that we shunned. As much as we would like to sit on the sidelines and complain and say these guys are not doing their job, which we should, can we take a step and say, I'm going to get myself involved and make a change? Can we, in the upcoming election, be more involved in the decision-making processes of our nation? Or are we going to sit on the sidelines and complain and rant on social media and say, these guys are not doing it right, they need to do better? But the question still remains, what are we doing? We had the opportunity to take part in shaping our nation, and we say, nah, that's such a dirty game, not for me. And now someone else who had the audacity and the boldness to run for these positions is making decisions about how much food you put on your table. You had the opportunity to decide that, but you didn't take it up. Now, as the 2026 general election comes closer and closer, we have an opportunity to rise up and take part in shaping our nation. We can no longer sit on the sidelines and shout and want things to change without actually doing something to make this change. Is it hard? Of course it is. I mean, running for an election is very difficult, but it's not impossible. But even if it were, would we rather not try, or rather try and maybe fail? Or maybe we won't fail. Maybe we will win. Maybe we will be seated at tables of decision making and then implement the ideas that we have, the ideas that will change this nation for the better. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on politics and political positions? Have you run for one before? Are you interested in politics? What's holding you back? Or if you're the kind of person that has sworn off politics completely, why? Why aren't you interested in taking part in the leadership of your nation? I just want us to have conversation around politics and political positions and how we as young people can take part in shaping our nation. So feel free to share your comments, share your experience, and let's learn and grow together.